I was able to get a hold of your book, The Treasure Map. While I was reading, I couldn't help but think about the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement. Why do you think that hasn't been able to get underway the way it should?
We're not truly united as we show on paper. Number two, there's lack of transparency. It is in the best interest of the Western world that Africa is not united. Most people that talk about the price of tickets in Africa don't even understand why ticket prices are high. The fuel is the highest cost factor inside travel. The airlines import fuel with dollar and they charge us in naira. They have to make their money back. Hence, the flight tickets go high. If there's a pothole across the road and it's bad for the road, the Chinese man or the American man would build a road so that everyone can pass. The average African man will buy a Range Rover.
There's a Kenyan, I think Professor Lumumba, I've heard people like that say that, oh, that for Africa to rise, that Nigeria must rise. What do you think about that?
Nigeria and South Africa are the giants of Africa. Let's leave the rest of the 52 countries. If Nigeria rises and gets it right, South Africa gets it right, we'll be unstoppable.
Welcome to the B.L.O Council, where we talk about everything personal development and business development.
Welcome everyone today to a new episode of the B.L.O Council. Today we are having a conversation with Mr. Nosakhare Oni. Mr. Nosakhare Oni is a business strategist, growth expert, and someone who is a mindset architect. He's a graduate of petroleum engineering. That's what is a professional at. And he has spent decades leading high impact projects across Africa, oil and gas sector, and in some entrepreneurial roles too. Mr. Nosakhare Oni is also the co-founder of the Tala company, where a lot of people are able to assess mental health issues in Africa. And he also spends a lot of his time mentoring when he's not working, where he inspires families through the Nino and Lulu brand. So thank you, and I want you guys to help welcome today Mr. Tunde Oni to the show. And thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Tunde Oni, today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I would just dive straight into it, Mr. Tunde Oni. I was able to get a hold of your book, The Treasure Map. And I think after reading it, I've started calling it, I think I added African Treasure Map in front of it. I know that's what it's about, but I just said the African Treasure Map. And while I was reading it, one thing crossed my mind, and I'm like, how does someone go about thinking of writing a book like this? You know, I'm imagining what happened? What was your thought process? Because many of us have a little bit of idea about one or two African countries, maybe Nigeria, in my own case, and a few countries. But to think one would, get certain information from all the 54 African countries and break it down in a very understandable manner. What was that thought process for you? How did you come about that?
What I usually tell people, I say we are all a product of our experiences, right? If you had told me maybe 10 years ago that I would have done something like this, I would never have believed, right? Because you spoke right. You said I'm a petroleum engineer by profession. My goal was to just work in the oil and gas sector, maybe Shell, Chevron, and just get transferred to maybe Houston or The Hague and just retire, right? And all that. But as a result of my oil and gas journey, I've been privileged to work in at least, or to visit and work in at least 8 African countries, right? So over my journey, started in Nigeria, I've gone to Accra, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea Conakry, Senegal, Tanzania, Kenya, and a couple more. And I realized that there was a fundamental problem we had in Africa, right? And I've also been privileged to travel abroad, right? The US, the UK, and some of the other Western countries. And I could see that there was a strong or let's say amount of poverty that I saw across African nations. There were some places that were good, but there were some other places that were not good, right? And then I said, okay, you know what? Let me even try and do some research to understand why it's different in Africa, right? This is post-colonialism. We're no longer slaves, right? Why is it that even after the colonial masters left us, we've not been able to move forward? And then I now eventually realized that it had to do with our mindset, right? The major problem we have in Africa is not lack of resources, but a mindset, right? And they have also programmed us to look to them for help, to look to them for resources, to look to them for development. Hence, no matter how much we preach and pray, Africa would never get developed with that kind of mindset. And then I realized that there were a lot of opportunities in Africa, but we don't know about it, right? There are a lot of, I did a study on just Dangote alone, and I'm like, this man has made all his money from Africa,
True.
right? A lot of the billionaires we have, they don't have 2 heads, they've made money from Africa. And I saw that the countries are also saying, oh, guys, come back home, come back home, come back home. But nobody knows what is back home, what opportunities are back home, right?
True.
And I think I had come into my first time in East Africa was maybe 2 years ago. And I came to East Africa, I was like, wow, there are a lot of opportunities here in this sector, in that sector, in this sector, in that sector. I know that not only me can tap into it. So I'm thinking that if you want Africans to invest in Africa, Africans need to know more about Africa. Hence the idea of the book, right? Normally Africans don't like to read. That's why the book is not voluminous, right? Something that is easy on the eyes, easy to digest. Hence the book that was written. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me even do some research on the African countries and see that, first of all, we're the most resource-rich continents in the world. But most people don't know that. In terms of population, we're number one. In terms of people, number one. In terms of resources, number one. Right? But in terms of production, we are last. We are consumers. So if we say that our African brothers and sisters should invest in Africa, let's give them a roadmap towards where the opportunities are. Hence the name Treasure Map, which is we say Africa has treasure. How about I just be one of the people that adds my own thought process towards leading us towards that treasure, because it cannot be only me, right? So if you open the book and you look at the book, it will show you, okay, if you're even going to another African country, and one thing I learned from traveling to African countries is that we all have different cultures. There are Anglophone countries, there are Francophone countries, there are countries that were colonized by the South American culture. So they speak Spanish or Brazilian, some speak French, some speak English. And due to that, the cultures are different.
True.
So coming to Rwanda, for example, now, I stay in Rwanda. The first language is their local language. The second language is French. English is third. You wouldn't know that if you don't come here. Right? In Ghana, it's English. In Kenya, it's English. In Cote d'Ivoire, it's French. Those cultures have influenced them. So the book basically was meant to expose Africa to Africans and say, okay, if you go to this country, first of all, they were colonized by this particular country. So this is the particular way they think and this is what they speak. Number two, this is what happened that when they got their independence. Number three, this is the amount of resources they have inside. Number four, this is how the government is there. So if you want to invest, this one might be a long game for you. This one might be a shorter game. However, there's opportunity. So if you are looking to Africa, you can have a book that has 54 countries that you can explore. That's one part of it. Number two, I think it was not, which president was it that brought history back into our curriculum in Nigeria? There's a particular president that took history out.
Yes.
So we are teaching history, even if you go and look at channels now, channels is showing what's happening in the US. What's happening in Nigeria, they're not showing it. So the teenagers and the Gen Zs have more information about Western countries than they do about Africa.
Their own countries.
So exactly. So my face was, even if this book can be something that the schools can even add to their curriculum and say, see, oh, we do a lot of geography, but the geography we do is about Western countries. We have seven, how many oceans do we have? We have how many continents? It's peripheral stuff. But if you listen to history courses in the US, They will tell you about Benjamin Franklin, about Abraham Lincoln, about the Declaration of Independence. They tell you about all the wars. You know everything about America, right? But no country in Africa is doing that about their own continent. That was basically why the book was born, to at least reorient people so that, and that's why there was an e-copy and even a physical copy, because I know that people might want to move on the go. So if somebody's saying that, Angola, what's the currency there, or what do they speak, you can easily just scroll through and say, okay, this is what they speak, this is the currency, these are the resources they have, right? So it's like a pocket map that way you're going. Like if you are traveling for an exploration, you have all those maps that you follow and you can say, okay, this is where the treasure is. That was the idea behind the book. So yeah.
Wow. Mr. Tuleni, thank you. Thank you so much. One of the things I picked from your response was that you wanted that mindset to change. And I think I felt the same while reading the book, because what I realized was that, okay, even there's some areas in Africa that I don't know much about. But reading the treasure map now gives me an idea that, okay, so this is actually going on here. And more importantly, I also wanted to mention the proverbs that you added uh,
Mm.
on each country. And I think there was one particular one, I think it was Malawi, that struck me.
Mm.
Something about a child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And
Mm.
I thought that was pretty much interesting. So thank you so much for
Mm.
writing this book. And please, anybody who's seen the treasure map should please go get it. It's very, very important. Um, Also, while I was reading, I couldn't help but think about the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement. You know that is
Mhm.
supposedly supposed to help African nations
Facilitate trade.
trade properly with
Mm.
each other and basically
Mm.
exchange and become closer. What's your take on it? And I'm speaking more from, because I would assume you are pro that's happening, but why do you think that hasn't been able to get underway the way it should? Because, for instance, I, as a business person, I would love to do business in other African countries. But sometimes, yes, we do have access here and there, but you tend to want to think about it twice before you make the move. But I feel it shouldn't be like that. It should be as simple. What do you think needs to be done to get this the way it should?
The problem with all those acts and policies is two things.
Okay.
We are not truly united as we show on paper.
Hmm.
Number two,
Hmm.
there's lack of transparency.
Hmm.
It is in the best interest of the Western world that Africa is not united.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
I mean,
And please, I think you need to break that down for us.
yes, I want to break it down. If you see a lot of the countries where they were able to enslave people, the first thing they did was to divide the people. You know that a lot of the African countries gave over ourselves to the Western people. It was us. You know,
Yes, I heard
we
that.
are the ones that
That
gave the lesser Africans or the lesser nationalities in our countries over to the West. They paid a few people for the rest of us.
very,
Right. So we are not, it's not in their best interest. People have tried to create one African currency before. A president trying to do that before. You know what happened to the guy. Right. So all these, we have a lot of people that come up with great ideas, but we don't have people who see it through. Because I was talking to a particular colleague and he said something very profound. And he said, the culture of the Chinese, they are very, I don't know how he put it. It was like maybe they are inventors. They have a very I'm trying to remember what he said, but what he was trying to say is that if you look at the UK, the British, they are very individualistic. If you look at America, they do freedom and they are developmental. If you look at the Africans, we are self-preservation driven, which means if there's a pothole across the road and it's bad for the road, and you have a small Toyota Camry that can't get to the road, the Chinese man or the American man would build a road so that everyone can pass. The average African man will buy a Range Rover and drive. So we care about, we're innately selfish in Africa. Which means if my country is working, I'd rather be the country that is working in Africa so that everybody can look to me instead of how do I help the rest of the continent work. So a lot of those free trade zones and free trade agreements, right? They take a lot of money out of some of the hands of some African countries, right? And also out of the hands of the people that are, there's still colonialism.
Yes. Yes.
Out of a lot of people's hands, right? Because some of those people have to go and check back with the people that are still their masters. And then it can't work. So we're not united. If you look at it in this way. West Africa in itself that is meant to be united is not as united as it should be. East Africa is a little bit more united, but they are still not united. North Africa, sometimes they don't even behave like Africans. They behave more like the Arabs.
The Arabs, yes.
Right? South Africa, I mean, it's a what they call outlier. Because those ones are still mixed. As much as they're Africa, they're not really fully Africa, right? In a way, right? They're Africans, yes, right?
Yes.
So we still have so many different cultures and we've not been able to find one united ground, right? Number two, what it takes for a lot of all these AFCT acts to be properly executed, we're not transparent with it. For example, we want to fly from Nigeria to Rwanda. It can cost about $850, $900, $1,000. The same cost to fly to London. Will I not rather fly to London where there's a better society, there's more light, there's whatever, everything that I need to enjoy myself than to go to another African country? Most people that talk about the price of tickets in Africa don't even understand why ticket prices are high. Between Europe, you can easily go from one European country to another country and you pay $100 or $200. Why? The fuel is the highest cost factor inside traveling. They pay for it in the same currency, the euro. The airlines import fuel with dollar and they charge us in naira. They have to make their money back. Hence, the flight tickets go higher. Do you understand? Then a lot of all these charges and taxes and fees that we add at the back of the tickets. Then before you enter another country, there are taxes and fees. Then there are visa fees. Everybody wants to make money. Right? So it's because of that bureaucracy at the top of African nations that is not allowing this CTA to work. And that's just the honest truth. So we can, and in Africa, we like to announce, we don't like to execute. That's why you see a lot of administrations, they want to be the governor or the president or the senator that inaugurated these projects, but not necessarily the one that maintains and executes it.
True.
Because we like show. We don't like true impact. We like perception of impact. So somebody can drop the AFCTA and then we can tag that person and say, because of this African Union president, we were able to come up with this new AFCTA agreement. But that's where it ends.
No real work.
The person that came up with the agreement.
No real work is
when
done.
it has to do with the work, the execution, no, I'm not interested.
And what do we do about what do you think? Because this is a real problem. You've just what do you think can be done about this? It's
the problem. The honest problem is that it's a generational thing. I was asked the same question somewhere else, and I said it's a generational thing. If you look at the 54 countries in Africa, at least 80% of the leaders have a particular mindset. They are from generation, I say the baby boomers. There was a gatekeeping mindset, which is wealth is for the people at the top. It's not for the rest of the country. There are just a few African countries where you can see some leaders actually now rising and they think about the people. You see a country like Rwanda, you see Botswana, I think, is it Mauritius or Seychelles, right? You now see younger people coming into power. I think Senegal as well has a young president, right? But the majority of Africa still thinks in a certain way. I was speaking to somebody the other day. I said, it's the same thing God did to the children of Israel. The children of Israel, when they left Egypt didn't leave them. That's the reason why when they got into the close to the promised land, they kept complaining, you'd have taken us back, you'd have taken us back, you'd have taken us back. And God was like, you know what? Let all these people die. When all of them die, we'll start a new generation. Right? So we as this particular generation, we have to reorient ourselves from where we are today. If not, if all of us get into power, we're still going to replicate what our
Same
forefathers
thing.
have done.
Same thing.
Do you understand? Which is what I basically try to do, because I know the generation I'm called to, and I'm not called to that generation. Right? There's a younger generation who is still malleable, who wants change, and trying to lead them to how change can be done. Because it's very easy to throw stones at the previous generation. They still have some wisdom to teach us. Right? We can grab from their own wisdom and use our own new wisdom, merge it together, and chart a way forward. But it's a long game, and it needs collectivism. Africa is individualistic and self-preservationary by nature. We need a collective. I was telling someone the other day, unfortunately, we are the country that likes protest the most, but we have no direction. One of the most powerful things is a planned protest. Martin Luther King had protest with direction. There was a leader and there was a goal towards the protest. Right?
Yes.
We just protest because Africans just like to be outside.
People even they start dancing.
Let's just join. Exactly. So our protest never yield anything.
Absolutely.
So we are not united, we're not collective. Everybody is going there for their own vibes. Don't put on social media that I'm out there. So we are not, even us as the youth, we're not united. I've had a lot of conversations. I said, okay, there was a particular project I wanted to do, and I was like, I spoke to a couple of people that I thought that, okay, they're in my field, let's do this thing together. Guess what? It couldn't work because everybody wanted their name to be the one that is driving. I said, it doesn't matter whose name. It
doesn't matter.
If the goal is for us to change this particular thing that we're trying to change, it doesn't matter whose name is there. I don't care if my name is there, but everybody wanted to be the alpha, the voice behind it. So there's a proper problem we have with our ego in Africa, that if it's not attached to me, that problem cannot be fixed. Where a governor can fix something, but because they know that they are outgoing, they won't fix it because it's not going to be attached to their name if the incoming governor fixes it. Do you understand? That's how bad it is. Or a president knows that they can fix something before they leave, but he says it's the next president's job to fix it. Me, I've done my own 4 years or 8 years, let me go. That's how, and we Nigerians are like our leaders. We like to separate ourselves and say we're not like our leaders.
After all, the followers, the leader comes from the followers. No, you go ahead. I was just saying after all. I was just saying after all, the leaders come out of the followers. So, but go ahead, please.
They come out of the followers now. Exactly. So we need to look within. You know, one problem we have in Africa is we always like to push blame outwards, never take. If you ask every Nigerian today or every African, see, what is your own contribution to why Africa is the way it is? You can never hear anything. It's our leaders. It's our leaders. It's our leaders. It's our leaders. Poverty, this and that. But in our own way, we like that there's poverty. We like that there's chaos. We like that there's lack of law. A lot of us take advantage of it.
Yes.
Do you understand? So we need to first of all look inward as a continent. We need to first of all even shut all the doors to outside and focus inside first before we can move forward. And it's a long-term game. How many African countries have a national vision? I can give you countries that because of the national vision they had, that's where they are. Go and look at El Salvador. Go and look at what the president of El Salvador is doing currently. Where they were before, they were the mother capital of the world. Now they are the second or the safest country in Central America, just because of one president. Go and look at Dubai. Go and look at Japan. Go and look at Singapore. Everybody had one. Even China, they had a national vision that they were on for a long period of time. It's the same thing Rwanda is doing. Do you understand? So if you don't have vision of where the country is going to go, each president is just going to come every 4 or 8 years, take them this way, another president takes them this way. There's no blueprints.
And they never move forward.
There's not one particular African nation that can say, okay, we're the one going to drive change in this country and let everybody come on. That's the problem.
That's interesting.
It's deeper rooted than we think.
Well, hopefully, and I wanted to add quickly that because I've heard people like this is a Kenyan, I think Professor Lumumba. I've heard people like that say that oh, that
They
for
will move
Africa
out.
to rise, that Nigeria must rise. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Nigeria and South Africa, they are the giants of Africa.
Hmm.
If Nigeria, even Nigeria and South Africa, in terms of bilateral relations,
There's a
should be the
problem.
closest we are not.
True.
It's still a problem. If let's leave the rest of the 52 countries, if Nigeria rises and gets it right, South Africa gets it right, we'll be unstoppable. Because
Hmm.
it's just the way you have a father or an elder brother. If you see your elder brother doing some certain things and they're getting results, automatically they become a mentor to you without them even saying that you want to be like them.
Yes, true.
So if Nigeria gets it right, all the other West African countries are looking at us. Psychologically, they'll be like,
There'll be a model for
what is
them.
Nigeria doing? Let's go and learn from them. Exactly, we'll be a model.
Yeah, yes.
So what he said is very, very true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I've heard, because I wanted to just get your opinion on that. Well, it's
Yeah.
and I think many of what you have even talked about, leads a lot towards the political leadership, because I feel like that's kind of like the angle
Yeah.
you're coming from, the political
Mm-hmm.
will, because it's those that are empowered that have to, even as much as the followers have to find a way to change. I think the change can happen
Yeah.
both ways too, in terms of political leadership.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what and this is out of what what do you think about anointing a successor in political leadership? Maybe when somebody does their 8 years, they should try to have a successor that will continue. What do you think about that type of approach to solving this type of political
Well,
leadership issue?
me, I'm not a, I'm not a political commentator, right? But I think that look, and it can be very controversial, but I don't think there's one style of leadership for a country,
Hmm.
right? A lot of people say democracy is the best. I don't necessarily think so in some certain countries,
Hmm.
right? It depends on the context of the country. For example, in Dubai, they had one supreme leader.
True, that's
In
very true.
Singapore, same thing. In Rwanda, they've had one leader for a long time, right? In some countries, it's better that one person is in power for a long period of time so that he can establish principles. In some other countries, it might be better that democracy can work. In some other countries, monarchical structure is the best, right? In Nigeria, however, because Nigeria doesn't speak one language and Nigeria is not united, anointing a political successor is not the best approach, right? Because the people want a leader that represents the whole of Nigeria. How many ethnic groups do we have in Nigeria? Right.
So many.
We know, I mean, not to mention any location in Nigeria, but we know that if you cut Nigeria into two, we are very, very different. Very, very different. It's just that they joined us together and
True.
left us. Do you understand? So, depending on the context that we are in, I think that would determine the kind of leadership style. But because of the structure of Nigeria, since we're talking about Nigeria, I don't think anointing a political
Successor.
successor is the best approach.
And if it what
Because
if
Nigeria
what
just wants. Yeah,
I was going to
yeah.
ask, what if, and if that would guarantee us moving forward, you don't think maybe we should think of something like that?
If he guarantees us moving forward, I'm for forward movement
And,
too.
yeah,
But how do we guarantee that it
true,
moves us forward if
true,
all we've seen in the past has not been moving forward? That's the thing. Nigerians have seen so much promise and fail that you cannot come and tell us and say, "Don't worry, this time will be better." How? We need results.
true.
Do you understand? It's when you've shown results, then we can trust your judgment to select a successor for us. Do you understand?
That's true.
So I think it's just the psychological thing. We Nigerians have been abused so badly by our political leaders that it's very difficult to trust anyone today that comes and says, "Oh, I'm the hope for tomorrow," or "I'm the next," and so and so. We've not,
I agree with
right?
you.
So
And as we push the conversation further to the close, and I know you're not a
Mhm.
political strategist or
Mhm.
commentator, like you said, but
Mm.
in terms of Nigeria, where we are now, what would be your
Mhm.
take in terms of maybe the past? maybe almost 3 years of the new administration, all of these economic policies, do you think the direction is looking feasible? What would be your take on the current status of Nigeria currently in terms of outlook?
So, in terms of outlook, one thing Nigerians have is always hope. The outlook always looks better, right, for the future. I don't think inherently any leader that has led Nigeria in the democratic era genuinely wanted bad for Nigeria, right? I just think that Nigeria has bad PR. I was listening to a particular influencer the other day, and they were talking about some policies of this new administration and how they can help investors. And to God who made me, I had no idea about that policy because there was no proper PR about it. So I have no doubt that this particular administration has done some things and put some policies to help the citizens. But none of the citizens don't know,
True, very true.
right? So I can't say yes or no because, like I said, I don't comment on politics per se because it's not my field, right? I'm not. I don't care whatever party enters. I just want progress, right? And for us to progress, our political leaders have to be aware that they don't know it all. That's the
Hmm.
problem I have.
Hmm.
Everybody thinks that they are the savior to Nigeria, right?
Absolutely.
But we first have to understand that we don't know it all. Get a team around you that knows something and build a strong team that can help move the country forward. That's all I'm here for. So whether it's SSS, PPP, KKK
Whatever
that
it
entered
is.
into office, right?
Yeah.
If you build a strong enough team and you have the united um, um, approval of all the citizens, the citizens will help a government that wants to help the citizens. That's just the
True.
truth.
True.
We just always talk and say, oh, Nigeria, we always fight, we're very malicious. No, it's just that we've been lied to all this while. Because it's not only a leader that keeps a country moving forward, the citizens join, the religious leaders join, the business owners join. It has to be a joint effort.
Hmm. I
Right.
agree.
So administration wise, this administration, I think they've done the best that they know how to do. Right. But I also think that they can do better about feeling the pulse of the average Nigerian because the average Nigerian is suffering. And sometimes it doesn't look like there's it looks like there's a disconnect between what the guys at the top are seeing and what the guys at the bottom level are
I'm
feeling.
feeling.
Right. Empathy is something that I think that we can do better at, right? As Nigerians. That's what I would say concerning this administration.
Thank you so much. I know you didn't want to go too much into detail of, but thank you for at least, because I think, at least personally from hearing you, I know you've made some very important points. I wish, we can only wish that everybody would think in that direction and manner. And I think the type of progress we're expecting would even come quicker than we think in my
Yeah.
opinion. So, but I know we because of our time, I would have loved to. I know the conversation is can always lead to so many things. So before we wrap up, I want to ask you about. I know you're the co-founder of Tala Is it Tala Company? Yeah, Tala. Do you want to tell us what you do with Tala Company? And I'm also would like to know about the Nino and Lulu, the Lulu brand. If it's something you'd like to share with us.
Okay. So they are both linked in a way, right? When we first started, my wife and I first started talking about marriage, we used the Nino and Lulu brand, right? And as a result of talking about marriage and talking about our journey and talking about some of the mistakes we've seen from the previous generation and how we can fix it as a generation, we started getting a lot of requests for counseling, right? Requests for help, requests for this, requests for that. And my wife and I thought to ourselves, like, actually, the only place that people can do counseling before marriage or whatever is just the church. And unfortunately, the church is not, in some areas, is not fully equipped to handle counseling as a profession,
Hmm.
right? Because mental health and counseling is a profession, it's not just a fancy word, right? So they are equipped to give advice, but counsel is structured and guided, right? And we saw that a lot of people wanted help but didn't know where to get the help.
Sure.
Hence, Tala was born, right?
Hmm.
So Tala now became a platform to help Africans get cultural relevant mental health services, right? Counseling, whether it's single, whether it's married, whether it's postmarital, whether it's depression, anxiety, because I had said, let me just check one of these online platforms from these foreign companies that do counseling. And they couldn't relate to what Africans were going
Hmm.
through, right? They couldn't relate to our own struggles, our
Yeah.
family structure. So how did they give us counseling? And they would charge $50, $100, right? And I said that the African, whether or not you are abroad or here, if you're an African, you have one mental health problem or the other. Somehow Africa has taken its number on you,
Yes.
even if you choose to
Without
unemploy
even
us,
knowing.
because we've been traumatized, exactly, right? And if we can heal the mind of Africans and the heart of Africans, we can help our productivity.
Hmm.
You
Very
get.
true. Very
So
true.
our goal was to create a platform where we can give cultural specific mental health that even people that are of the faith are not of the faith can get help, because our goal is Africans. It's not just Christian Africans, it's the whole of Africa, right? And the platform was born, right? So my wife is a certified counselor and mental health professional. I what I contribute to the company is in terms of strategy and business growth. So understanding the sector, understanding the market, and understanding what kind of help that we need to add to the services. So that's how the company was born. And ever since we started, it's been doing really great. In fact, I think we just completed our 700th session
Wow.
just in 1 year.
Wow.
So in fact, we got a lot of people that said, "Oh my goodness, we've been looking for you. We've been looking to," and a place where nobody's going to judge, where nobody's going to come and say, "Oh, this girl had a bad past," and then when you're telling us about your bad past, our faces are changing, right? And one thing that helped us be able to resonate is because I have also had my scary past, right? So I can resonate when somebody's coming to tell me about things that they are going through. Do you understand? So that's what we brought to the table: empathy. We brought cultural understanding, and we made it affordable so that you don't have to break the bank to get mental health help. So if you check, we are actually one of the most affordable mental health services in Africa. And we made it that way on purpose. So that if we can bridge the gap towards accessing mental health services, then people would want to access it.
That's so interesting. It's one of the key things I picked from our conversation, like I said earlier, is you wanting to change that mindset. It's, and I think it still
Yeah.
boils down into what you do, even with your business with your wife. And well, I'm going to, on behalf of all the sessions you've had, I'm going to thank you for them. Thank you for dedicating your time and helping
Thank
people.
you.
So I know we can continue to talk for long, but I really, really hope we can still have this conversation some more because, to say the least, I've enjoyed
Definitely.
the conversation with you. It's so nice to, sometimes you think of something, but when you think, oh, yes, you have an expectation and your expectation is met and superseded by the
Yeah.
person you meet, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what I got from speaking with you. And thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you
And
so much for having me.
for viewers, please, like I said earlier, let's get Treasure Map. You won't and it's easy to read. It's not like the type of books that some of us write, but it's very easy to read, and it will make you feel closer to Africa and other African nations, and you'll be able to feel the possibilities and capabilities of Africa from the treasure map. So thank you so much, Mr. Tudeoni. I wish you a
Thank you for
wonderful
having
day,
me.
and my regards to you and your family as you enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right. So
Thank you.
thank you so much, guys.
Have
And
a
this
good day.
is, yeah, thank you so much. This is another episode of the B.L.O Council. And we've been talking to Mr. Tunde Oni. It's been a very, very interesting, inspiring, conversation. And I'm not saying that for the fancy of it. I'm saying that because that's what it is. I think many of us, doesn't matter what level you are, whether you are a leader, whether you are a student, whether you are aspiring to be something, this type of conversations are the type of conversations we need to keep having. And thank you so much once again, Mr. Tudeni. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. Thank you.